Hi, my name is Gáspár Nagy, and this is a short introduction to the new execution environment features of SpecRun 1.2. SpecRun is a smart execution framework for SpecFlow. To show these execution environment features, I'm going back to my bookshop demo application, which is a small web application with a couple of SpecFlow scenarios. And this version has been already configured with SpecRun 1.2. You can see the scenarios displayed in the Test Explorer window of Visual Studio. Okay, so let's imagine that this application has to be deployed into different environments. So it would make sense to test it that it runs properly on a 64-bit machine or 32-bit machine. So far, SpecRun was always running the test in 32-bit, so you were not able to execute the test in 64-bit mode. But with the new version, this is available now. For invoking this feature or to change the target processor architecture, there is a new setting in the profile that you can use called environment. And in environment platform, you can select which processor architecture you want to run your tests in. By default, SpecRun runs it in 64-bit. So if I want to force to run it in 32-bit, then I have to specify this in the platform in the profile configuration. So if I run my test now, then this should run in 32-bit. Probably not that much visible. To make the actual execution ID behind a little bit more visible, let me run the entire test set from the console, because then we have a little bit more time. And if I open the Process Explorer, you can see that the SpecRun process runs, and there is a child process created to run the actual tests in a different environment than the SpecRun process itself. In this case, this is running it in 32-bit. This is the new architecture that we have introduced to allow such environmental settings that can be different from the SpecRun exe itself. Similarly to the processor architecture, you can also change the .NET framework or the .NET CLR that tests are actually running in, and you can also specify the tests to run in .NET 3.5 mode, which means using the .NET 2.0 CLR. This was not possible before with SpecRun. This configuration you can specify also in the environment, and this is the new place also to set the test running in STA mode. If you have used SpecRun before and have seen this outproc execution feature, probably you already start to imagine whether we could run the test not only in a different process but also on a different machine, and so executing the test parallel with multiple machines. The good news is that from the architectural point of view, that this should be possible now. However, the feature is not yet in. If you are interested to participate in a beta program developing this feature, then please send me a mail on the email address that you see on the screen. But let's get back to our test. And let's imagine that we regularly want to test our application against the 64-bit and the 32-bit mode. Obviously, one option would be to create separate profiles. So one profile for the 32-bit, one profile for the 64-bit, and run all of them. But in SpecRun 1.2, there is a new feature that you can use to run in different environments at once all your tests, and this feature is called testing targets. Now you can define multiple testing targets. In my case, I will now define two targets. One is for 32-bit and one for 64-bit. And what I can do, I can override the environmental settings in the different targets, and here as well. So let's make it not this one, but the platform to 64-bit. Actually, we don't need this default at all. And what will happen now, that this profile will represent a text execution where each test is executed twice, once in 64-bit and once in 32-bit mode. If I compile this solution now and actually rebuild, because otherwise the assembly will not change, then one thing that you can already notice is that in the Text Explorer window, these new targets are appeared, and every test that I had previously in my test execution is now doubled. So for example, the book search test is appearing twice, once in 32-bit and once in 64-bit mode. So with this, I was able to make a test suite that contains the tests multiple times with different environmental settings. Of course, not only the processor architecture can be different, but you can specify different .NET framework, or you can also make other configurations different, including the application configuration. For changing the application configuration, I will show you another interesting example, but I need a little bit of preparation for that. I come back in a second. Okay, so the preparation has been done. What I did, I have changed the implementation or the automation of this test execution in a way that at least the search scenarios are executed through browser automation. The browser automation is done with Selenium, and it's even done in a way that depending on some app settings in the configuration file, it uses either Internet Explorer, Firefox, or Chrome. Currently, I have Firefox configured, so if I try to run this single search test, then what happens? The Firefox browser popped up and did the search, and I think it has passed. So this is the preparation that I have done. Now, what I would like to do, I would like to set up a test profile that runs my application with all possible browsers at one run. I have even prepared this. The profile is called browser test, and I have defined 3 different targets. Similarly, that's what we have done before. So I have a Firefox target, an Internet Explorer target, and a Chrome target. And what I would like to do in the different targets, I would like to change the configuration file, change the value of the browser depending on the target I'm in. If you are familiar with the application configuration transformation format from Microsoft, then this SpecRun using the same format. So actually, what I'm doing here for Firefox, I'm just changing the browser key in the app settings and set it to Firefox. Similarly to Internet Explorer and Chrome, I'm just setting it to IE and Chrome. So let's run this test now. I'm running it from the console. Browser tests, and what you see, the Firefox target has been started. Hopefully we'll soon see a Firefox popping up here on my other screen. You can see it's doing the job. Firefox is ready. Now comes Internet Explorer. I think this will also pop up in my other monitor. And no, it comes here, super. It does the search. And finally, also Chrome will come. As you see, this way, especially if this is done on the build server, you can have one consolidated test run that tests all the browsers, all the tests that are related to web execution with all the browsers. Of course, you can also configure these targets further. So, for example, you can define tests that has to be run only on Firefox, or that tests that shouldn't participate at all in this target. There is a filter section inside the target where you can change that. You can combine it also with environmental settings and many other things. So I think all of our tests has been done, so we can be sure that the search feature works very well on all 3 major browsers. One last thing that I wanted to show you is how you can combine these targets with the other popular feature of SpecRun, the parallel execution. So I have created a browser test parallel profile, which is still having the same targets, the Firefox, Internet Explorer, and Chrome targets. However, this is configured to run the tests in 3 parallel threads. And it's even configured in a way that the first thread is running the Firefox test, the second the Internet Explorer, and the third one the Chrome one. So if we run these, Then you can see that these resets are just populating, and in a second our different browser windows will also pop up. Yeah, we have the Internet Explorer, the Chrome, and also the Firefox. So these are running the tests. And while these are running the tests, I would like to highlight that in the doc folder of the NuGet package of SpecRun, there is a speclog file and also an HTML export of that speclog file where you can find further details about these features that I was just talking about. So search for execution, for example, and then you will see the execution features deliverable where it describes all the related user stories. For example, defining multiple targets story, you see all the details about the target configuration and the possibilities there. Well, let's get back to our test. As you can see, we have actually turned our demo into a browser automation competition, and it seems that we already have the winner, which is Chrome. So while the others are still running, I say goodbye. I hope you enjoyed this part.